hear me all right?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right, thank you. Start with Grant Ramey, then Mike Wilson.
Rick, I don't think Josiah's turned the ball over since early in the second half against Alabama a couple of weeks ago. What's he doing right now to take care of the ball? And outside of that, what do you think he's doing well?
Well, again, I think, Grant, that every day that he's here, he gets more and more familiar, more and more comfortable knowing what we're looking for as a team. And, he's playing every position basically on the court. And I think that when you do that, you really do get more of a grasp of what's supposed to be happening at every position. I think it really helps his vision to know what he's looking for. And the fact is that he puts his time in, he works hard. He really takes a lot of pride in studying the game from film, doing all the things that you'd want him to do as a coach. But it's just a matter of a time that he wants to be the best player he can be, and he's going to continue to work at it in every way that he can.
Rick, obviously different circumstances, but you went through replacing a key player in your lineup last season with Lamonte, and obviously Florida's going through that with Keontae Johnson. What is that process like when a really key piece to your team is that you were planning on having is no longer a part of it?
It's really hard, Michael. It's because you spend your whole off season working that way. You formulated your plan and how you want to proceed, and obviously with Keontae Johnson, I mean, he's a big, huge part of it, just like Lamonte was with us. And then you almost feel like you're starting over again. You really do, because so much focus has been put around a key player. But as coaches, we always think of, the what ifs. But even with that said, you just are going to continue to build the program, your team around the players that you think that can lead you, can help you. And when something happens in situations like both of those guys and they're not with you, you really feel like you're starting over. And not you, but just the players too, because they get comfortable with a little bit. A person that they're counting on that's one of their big leaders, somebody that they know that in close game situation, that's who we play through. That's who we look at. And so it affects everybody, not just from a coaching standpoint, the players, where you've got to really go back and start over, and not just physically with replacing someone, but the mental side of it and how you're going to approach the team. And it gives someone a chance to step up and step in there and play, but it's still, that person might not be ready the way the person that you lost. And so now you go back to, how do you shape your team with other people becoming more, playing a bigger, larger role? So and Mike's they've been hit with a lot of different things. And obviously Keontae was a player that think about what people in the league thought about him, and just think the good Lord that he's healthy, but it's tough. What they've had to go through is very, very tough.
Jimmy Himes and Rob Lewis.
Rick, John Fulkerson had a plus 33 plus minus ratio against Vanderbilt. How important do you think that statistic is?
Well, I think it's important. And I also think it's important that the guys that come in behind him try to trend with him, as opposed to going backward the other way, because there's no doubt that Fulky, if we try to lean on him too much, it wears him down. It affects him on both sides of the ball. But he was very efficient, and I think it showed that he was himself. And I've said it before, you don't have to run plays for John Fulkerson. Think about some of his slash and cutting type plays that he made the other day. And the quicker he plays, the faster he plays, the better he is. But he impacts the game, and with that, so we look at it. I mean, obviously I've said before, the main stats, the one at the end of the game when you win or lose, but and I'm not overly crazy about analytics and all that, but the fact that he impacts the game the way he did was a big key in us winning that game.
Rick, Yves Pons is not scoring at the level he did a year ago. Is that a concern at all for you?
Well, we've watched guys go through that, but we're good with Yves. He'll bounce out of it. There's no doubt in my mind he'll do that. But we've got more scorers around us now. He's got more guys around him that can go get baskets, and he's good with that. That's why he's such a great team player. And so it has nothing to do with Yves. I think people look at him, if he struggled shooting the ball a little bit, which everybody goes through that. I mean, you think about it, Jordan Bowden had a tough year last year doing it, but the Ponds affects the game in so many different ways. But the bottom line, Jimmy, is, we've got many more scoring threats than we had a year ago.
Coach, your small ball lineup, is that going from being more of like a little wrinkle you were kind of playing with to being something that you really feel like you might lean on now going forward?
Well, we like it, Rob. We do. We need to work it a little bit more, especially in practice. But we like it, and we're not afraid. I mean, the other night we actually, Keon played the 4, and I was impressed with what he did in terms of knowing the offense from there better than I probably thought that he would. But as a group, it's honestly, it's kind of fun to see them when they're out there playing and moving the ball the way they move it and the speed and quickness that it brings. I just think with our team, Rob, it'll all be based on who we're playing, what we have to do at that time. And we've talked about the versatility and the fact that we can do it and we've been able to do it on the fly is what's really encouraging to me.
And do you like, now that you've seen him there a couple of games, do you like Keon at the 4 board when you go there, or Josiah, or does it really matter?
Either one of those two guys can do it. Again, you'd think typically it would be Josiah trailing it, but yet they played the point guard position. So if they get a rebound, we encourage them to go with it. So that means we're going to go, and then we look for the flow game there. That's what we're looking for, just not so much to come down and run offense as much as we want to encourage them to play offense.
Gustavo and Jimmy.
Coach, around this time last season, you had to deal with a lot of adversity. Lamonte, ending his career at Tennessee, and also Santiago joining in the middle of the season. And now the season kind of goes smoothly. You don't have lose any major players. So how do you see comparing this time your team this season and last season?
Well, this time last year we were struggling. As boy, I mean, you think about it. Jordan Bowden was really struggling. Lamonte was struggling. We'd spent the whole preseason planning on playing through guards. Josiah coming in with Lamonte and Jordan Bowden is what we, how we thought we would begin the year with, and that's what we spent all summer, fall doing. And then Lamonte gets injured and can't continue, and then we knew we had signed. We knew back in the fall that. With Lamonte struggling, that we wanted to have a guard in the program we could, and we were just fortunate to be in a position that we could recruit Santi. And when he came in, and I remember the night he came in, and we had watched enough tape, and we had put in some plays that he had ran to make him more familiar, as opposed to making him trying to learn what we were doing, and which helped him. But that also meant our other members of the team had to learn what. And they were simple things. It wasn't anything really hard to do to try to make him as comfortable as possible. He wasn't in shape at all. His conditioning wasn't good. But and the reason we started, we knew it was inevitable that he was going to start then. And so from the time he got here in December up until the last week of the last 3 weeks of the season, we didn't feel like we had. And then we started playing through even John, because teams really were defending Santi well after he got settled in, and conditioning wise, he wasn't able to fight it in some ways. He worked as hard as he could and tried to, but then and John started really exerting themselves to the point that we started playing through those guys. So we kind of went through 3 or 4 scenarios where we were just trying to find ourselves as a group. And what made it good was we've got a really good group of guys that kept fighting, kept doing it. And at the end of last year, we were in a point that we felt we could go out and compete and play with anybody. We had some good wins, and then had obviously the season ended the way it did. But I'm really as proud, and we are as a staff, of what those guys went through last year, just to try to keep it afloat with all that we went through, as much as any team that we've had since we've been here.
Rick, you probably have more players on this team this year that can create their own shot. And from that standpoint, do you think that makes you a better team at getting good shots late in a shot clock?
We've got guys, Jimmy, that you said it, that can create shots. We still work on that situation when, we don't want to get down deep into the shot clock, but it happens because you play against teams that defend you well enough to put you in that situation. But the fact is, we do think we have some guys that can create right there and do some of that. And I go back this year, we've missed a lot of open shots. We have, and I just believe that we're going to continue to get better, make those shots. And I also know that this is a game. It's all pretty when that ball is going in. It really is. And so making shots alleviates a lot of things. But the fact is, we've gotten good shots this year. For the most part, we've been able to get good shots, and we've got to get back to rebounding the ball better. We were doing a really good job early in the year, but again, competition stepped up and things happen, and scouting is even bigger now than when the season starts. And so we've just got to ask everybody to keep trying to improve their games.
Coach, what are your biggest points of emphasis on your Florida scout when you look at that team? What do you hammer home for you guys?
You always look at their top 2-3 options and who they're trying to play through and what they're trying to do, and then you break it down scheme wise. As you simplify it as much as you can for the players, but what are we going to have to defend at critical times of the game? If they're down, what are they going to go to? And we all know that at the end of the game, if you got a lead, teams coming from behind, they're playing with house money, and they're going to get aggressive. They're going to drive. They're going to try to get the officials involved, all those type of things. So every day through your practice, you're trying to work on just basic fundamentals of how to guard situations, time and score. All that's important, obviously, but the biggest thing is players being able to adjust with a lead, without a lead. And but when you're scouting, you're trying to find all the things they're going to try to do when they're down, offensively and defensively, and you try to give your players a snippet of that in practice and get ready, because you got to think from a coaching standpoint. If the game goes this way, what do we got to do? That way, what do we got to do? Make sure your players are comfortable with that. And the scouting, I'm thankful that I've got a great coaching staff that do an incredible job of scouting. And I do know this: our players going to each game with a plan that our coaches have put together, that they know what we need to do if we want to win.
And just with Mike White, what's his kind of modus operandi? What do you worry about with his teams? What do they consistently do well that you wouldn't take away?
Well, what Mike's teams do a great job. They're going to spread you out. They're going to be a point of contact on that ball screen is important. I think he puts his players in positions where they need to be defensively. He's going to mix it up. He's going to pressure you in the backcourt a couple different ways. He's going to show you some zone. He's a multiple defensive coach, and I think he will do it and see how you handle it and see if your players can adjust to it. I think they're an aggressive team, obviously an extremely well-coached team, and I think Mike's done a great job with the adversity that he's had to deal with. I think he's got his guys fighting, competing, and when you see that, when you watch them play, it impresses you that they, like all of us right now, they're still trying to totally find themselves and continue to get better.
Vince and Ben McKee.
Rick, you were asked the other day about if Keon Johnson was thinking too much, and you joked that who said he was thinking. Do you find that in basketball that guys at times do have their minds tie up their feet and they think too much and just can't play and let loose? And has that been the case at all with your team?
Yes. And the answer to that question, yes, guys can think too much, but they're always thinking about the wrong thing. And that's what ties them up. That's what freezes players, is when they fight it. They fight the role they need to be in. They fight, and that's what it is. They simply fight the role that they need to play to be effective. And I think that you got to get a base as a player. And once you get that base and build that foundation, you can grow out. The players that are, Vincent, you're talking about, and I really think that's the one thing, is they're fighting the system, or they're fighting themselves internally, because they see themselves wanting to play one way, when maybe as a coaching staff, you need them to play a certain way, knowing that eventually if they can play this way, they're going to get to play a little bit of this way too, as they get better with it. But in terms of just overall thinking the game, Coach Knight had a great saying: the mental to the physical is like 4:1. And I believe that. And that's why I think that you've got to think this game. But when you're thinking about yourself first, and not the team, that's when you get all twisted up.
Coach, EJ smacked his head on the floor pretty hard the other day, and I don't believe he came in after he came out. Is he okay and good to go for tomorrow night?
He is okay. I didn't see that until I was watching the film when I got home that night, and he did. He hit his head pretty good. But he's such a tough kid. I don't even know if he told anybody, to be honest with you. I mean, because I forgot to even ask him about it yesterday. But I saw the play when he went down. But he was out working yesterday. He was fine. And when I left yesterday afternoon after we finished up, he was still out there working out.
And do you like where y'all are at rebounding right now?
No, that's something I don't think I'll ever be all right with it until we become the best at it. And I think that we're not as consistent as we need to be. And we've got to be more consistent, really on both ends.
Rob Lewis and Trey Wallace.
Coach, in SEC play, Jaden is leading you guys in assists. Is he a better facilitator, playmaker than you thought he was going to be, or have you encouraged that more with him as the season has gone?
Jaden leading the team in assists.
No, I'm not. Again, Jaden's got a terrific feel. He does. And I think Keon, as they continue to get in shape, both of them can even do more. But Jaden, he sees it. You know, he does. He got great vision. I mean, he really does have great vision. That he sees the game. And he can pass it in tight quarters. He can get in himself into some situations that at times you say that's a tough situation to put yourself in, but he finds a way to make a couple terrific. He made some passes at Texas A&M that were just phenomenal passes. But I'm not surprised with, again, the stats. I look at them, and there's a lot of things that you like about this, that, or whatever. But I just want to see all those guys, Rob, just continue to, again, get in the kind of shape they need to be in. I want him to. I think he learned a lot. I like to think he learned a lot the other night defensively, learning how to stay on the ground and when people shot fake, because he does such a good job of staying in front of the ball. That's a stat he's got to learn. I think the other night we gave up 15, 18 points on shot fakes where we left our feet, and those are the kind of stats we want them to be aware of. That, you know, just simply stay down, hold your position, and not bail people out. But that's where, again, Jaden, I don't think anything he does would surprise me, because I think he's got that kind of talent level. And I've said it before, he's young to the game still, and he's just got so much room to grow.
Rick, how do you think your ball movement has been, guys getting open from behind the perimeter? Do you like the shots that they're taking right now, or would you rather see them drive it to the paint, maybe get more towards the basket?
Well, we've done a little bit of all of it. I mean, you look at it. I mean, we opened up the game the other day, and we were flowing, and Fulke, instead of standing on the post, stepped out, opened the lane up, and Jaden's first basket was a straight line drive to the basket. You know, we like to attack the high percentage area in the lane, and the threes, we want to take them on our terms, when most of it's inside out. And like I said earlier, we've had good shots. Now the turnovers, like we had 2 turnovers the other night, where we ran in, we were doing a little draft screens, blur screens, whatever word you might want to use with it, where we ran into the defender, which we don't want to obviously do that. But they were trying to run good, hard offense, and those 2 collisions happened. And but overall, we want balance. You know, we want to drive the ball. We want to get fouled, and if people want to pressure us, we encourage our guys to drive the ball. We want to drive it. We want to get to the foul line. We want to shoot free throws, and we want to put people's in foul trouble. So, but this balance is what we're looking for.
And what did you see out of Olivier when he came in off the bench, kind of that first rotation right there? Did you like his movement around the paint, and what are maybe some things he could get better at this week?
Well, the biggest thing he's got to do is rebound the ball. You know, in the game the other night, he gave up 3 offensive rebounds, and that's got to be. I mean, that's where it starts with post players or anybody on that inside position. We've got to rebound the ball. We've gone back. Somebody asked me about rebounding. I mean, we can't give up 3 offensive rebounds, and he gave up 3 offensive rebounds. And I think that when that happens, I think it goes back. That's where guys knowing it. Hey, that's a tough one. I know I can't do that. Then I think because maybe being young, you're like, oh man, am I going to get to play a little bit longer? And we left him out there, but then he gave up another one back to back. And so that's when we take him out and say, come on now, you got to do this. And that's where it's hard on a player. But we put them in at a critical time of the game when we had momentum going and something that simple. It could be Olivier, it could be John Fulkerson coming back in the game, giving up an offensive rebound. That can flip momentum quicker than you think. So the bottom line is when you're just, when you're still trying to get young guys to understand the roles, it's those little details that they've got to understand. It's not going in the game thinking I got to score points. It's going in thinking that I've got to play the game. I've got to do the fundamental things right. I can't give up a free throw block out. I can't give up a guy like, am I supposed to go over and block this shot? If I don't block the shot and I get caught halfway, obviously my man's in a position to get the offensive rebound. So if you're going to go block the shot, go block it. And then your guy gets an offensive rebound. That's not on you. That's your teammate not cracking down from the backside. But when you're caught in the middle, that's when problems start happening. And I know this. I think it's tough for guys coming in when first thing they come in and the first thing happens, it doesn't go their way. And do I think it gets in their head a little bit? There's no doubt about it. But that's where the more that he will continue to do what he had. And the reason that he was in the game the other night was because he had really 3 great days in practice where he was doing those little things.
We'll finish up with Vince.
Rick, I know your focus is on this Florida game, but you appreciate the sport and the history. On Thursday, the Lady Vols are going to host UConn. First time UConn's been in Thompson-Boling Arena in 15 years. Yes, it's a 10-year anniversary of We Back Pat. Gino said this morning he didn't think that series was that big of a deal anymore. What's your thoughts on the UConn and the Lady Vols playing on Thursday?
Well, fortunate to know Gino, and so I'm not surprised by his comment. And I obviously was very blessed to get to spend more time with Pat than people might know from our years back doing Baden basketball clinics and Converse clinics. And you think back during the game, both of those are they're icons of what they've done to bring women's basketball where it is right now. And is the rivalry different? A huge part of the rivalry with Pat, obviously, with her being gone, but her legacy is something that will live on forever. And is it big to have a rivalry? I think, Vince, it's got to be an every year thing, and it's got to be where teams are beating each other. You can't have a rivalry if one team's winning all the games and this and that, but the fact that you said it's been 10, I don't know how long it's been since they played. I think, didn't they play a year ago, right?
Yeah, 15 years. Last time was 15 years since they came to Thompson-Boling Arena.
So to really have that kind of, but back then, that rivalry probably grew the sport as much as anything. Because, you're talking to two elite programs, and it probably grew the sport to where it is today, to where now there are a lot of teams. You look at our league, the SEC, there's not a tougher women's basketball league in the country than this league. And now there's rivalries within this league. But on a national level, if you have those games that you're playing every year, yeah, it can become a rival. But if you go, 15 years is a long time. There's a lot of women that are playing today that they don't remember the last time, that they obviously were too young to remember that. But I do think that we should really appreciate what Pat and Gino did back then and what they've done to bring the sport this far. And I hope I get a chance to, if things work out, I look forward to it, being here and seeing it. And the sad part this year is just the fact that where we are, the COVID, that we don't have because I think we would have a tremendous, arena here for that game. And that's the tough part. But obviously remembering what Pat Summitt did is something that will never be forgotten. And not just what she did as a coach, but what she did to mold so many lives and the impact that she's continued to have. And you look around with, people that come out from under her that are coaching, that will continue to carry on what she wanted to be, how she saw things. I think the way she saw that she wanted women to perform and use basketball the way we want our guys to use it to make a better life for themselves and to leave things better than they found it when they got here.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate everyone.